Hi everyone, it's Norma from the Hanover Public Library with another book talk from my living room. I love history. For me, history isn't about dates and outcomes so much as it is about stories. Those stories of real people, ordinary people in extraordinary situations, are as thrilling and as moving to me as any fictional narrative. Some writers of history don't really get it, and their books are dry as dust. But some really understand that it's all about the stories. Erik Larson is a best-selling writer of books about history and people dealing with extreme circumstances. One of my favorite books ever is his book, Isaac's Storm, telling the thrilling and tragic tale of the 1900 hurricane and storm surge that almost destroyed Galveston, Texas, and Isaac Klein, the meteorologist who failed to heed the warnings of what was coming. Erik Larson's newest book is already a bestseller. It's entitled The Splendid and the Vile, a saga of Churchill, family, and defiance during the Blitz. This book is a great example of telling the stories that add richness to a historical timeline. In this case, the first 2 years of Churchill's tenure as a wartime prime minister. The book reveals so much about Churchill, his family, and other people close to him, and although he was by no means a perfect person, I found myself liking him more because of the stories Larson relates. Churchill became prime minister in May 1940, during one of the most serious emergencies Britain has ever faced in its long history. The nations of Europe were falling like dominoes before the Nazi blitzkrieg, and Britain's great ally, France, was teetering on the edge, soon to become another victim of Hitler's relentless aggression. The bulk of Britain's land force was trapped on the French coast, about 350,000 men in terrible danger, separated from safety by the English Channel. The government was in chaos, having lost the confidence of the House because of Neville Chamberlain's attempt to appease the Nazis. England needed a heroic leader, and pretty much no one thought Churchill would fit the bill. He had a reputation of being quirky and unreliable. Even the king didn't want him as prime minister, but he was the only one that a majority on both sides would accept, so he was tapped for the role. It turned out, of course, that he was the best person for the job, restoring the spirit of the people with his great speeches and sticking to his principles when some very powerful people were urging him to surrender. His words, "We will never surrender," echo down through the years as a clarion call to courage for all time. Erik Larson's book reveals the character and habits of Winston Churchill, warts and all. There is no doubt he was eccentric, to say the least. He was a poor money manager, a heavy drinker, and he had a volatile temper. But the stories Larson tells in this book also reveal Churchill as a loving husband and father, generous and kind, fiercely courageous, and determined to save his nation from the evil scourge of fascism. He really was the leader that Britain needed for her darkest hour. I especially enjoyed reading the memories of Mary, his youngest daughter. She was a teenager during the war and was torn between enjoying herself immensely, dancing the night away, and worrying over the heavy yoke war had placed on her beloved father. I also found it interesting that Larson dropped in some chapters telling the story from the Nazi side, using diary entries and memoirs from leaders and from airmen who had to face the RAF's spirited defense of their island. Larson's book is so readable because he understands that it's the stories that are the most important, and he recounts them beautifully. The Splendid and the Vile is on Overdrive and Libby. So if you think this book might interest you, sign on and get your name on the list. Or place a hold on the print copy for when the library reopens. Until then, stay calm and carry on reading. And hopefully we'll see you soon.